Good morning one and all. Welcome to our social studies class. So in our class we are going to learn our third unit, that is, as we all know, we live on the planet called Earth, which is third planet. We have already learned in our first lesson. Now what is the meaning of a word neighbor, neighborhood? You might have learned this in your science. What is the meaning of neighbor? What we see, the surrounding, the things we see in the surroundings are called neighborhood. Like the houses, buildings, trees, whatever. And the neighbors are the people who live in our surrounding. So what do you do with your neighbors? You play with them. You ask them if they help us if we need something. And what do we do if we are leaving our house and going to a city or a village or a place where we like to go? What do we ask them? To take the care of our house, look after our house. Am I right? So that is how our neighbors are helpful to us. Now we are going to learn about the Earth's neighbors. Whose neighbor? Earth's neighbors. It is not Earth. It is Earth. You have to pronounce it as Earth. So the Earth neighbors. What are the Earth neighbors? When we wake up early in the morning, what do we see? We see the sun rising in the east. It gives us light. It brings the day to us. Am I right? And so that we can see everything colorfully and brightly. We wake up early in the morning and we enjoy our day. Am I right? Then next, at night, when the sun sets in the west, what do we see? We see a moon showing its light, emitting its light, and the stars in the sky which are twinkling brightly in the sky. So, these are the neighbors of the earth. What are the neighbors of the earth? The sun, the moon, stars, and the constellations, which we will learn in the next further class in the future. Now I'll be telling about this. So in this lesson, we are going to learn about the sun, the moon, stars, and the constellations. So in this lesson, we are going to learn about the sun, the moon, stars, and the constellation in the further class. Okay. So what are our neighbors? The sun, the moon, and the stars. First, we'll go with the sun. What is the sun? The sun is the head of the family. Like in our family, we have a head person, very senior person we call a head. In the same way, we have a solar system in the sky, in our space. So the head of the solar system is sun. It is much, much bigger in size. So Earth are the planet and sun is in the center of our solar system. That is why it is called as the head of the family. Here comes the fact. The sun is also a star. It is the head of the family and also it is a star. You might have learned a new thing today. Okay. Then sun is in the center of our solar system and the planets. How many planets do we have? 8 planets. They revolve around the sun. And we also have moons, the satellites, and etc., which we will learn further. So here we are going to learn about sun. So what does a sun do? What is the importance of the sun? Sun emits the light. It is the source of the light. What is the sun? Sun is the source of the light. When compared to Earth, the sun is much bigger in size. Light. Source of light. Sun is the source of light. When compared to Earth, sun is much, much bigger in size. First, earlier, the scientists thought that Earth is in the middle and the sun and rest of all the planets and the stars revolve around the earth. But later on they got proved that the earth is in the center, which is the head of the family, and the planets and the moon and stars revolve around it. So here we are going to learn about the importance of the sun. Now, Open your books and turn to the next page. The importance of the sun. How the sun is important. What does it do? How does it help us? How it is important to the living things. All the plants, animals and human beings are called as living things. So how it is helpful to them, we are going to learn in this lesson. It is the source of the light on the earth since it emits light and heat, as we have learned, as I have said you, what it emits. It emits light and also heat. That is why it is the only source of light which gives, it is the only thing on the solar system which has a source of light. It emits light. It gives light to all the stars, the moon and everything. It is the only thing in the solar system which has light. So that is why how it is helping. It is also helping to plants. Plants need sunlight to grow. Am I right? We human beings also need light to see around something. If there is no light, if the sun does not emit light, what happens? There is no light. We cannot see anything in our surroundings. It will be dark and you cannot identify what are the things around us. So it is the natural thing which we are getting it. So natural heavenly body. It is also called as natural heavenly body, which is the source of light and which gives light as well as heat. With that heat, the energy it produces, the energy that produces with the heat is called as solar energy. What it is? Solar energy. Like in our house, what do? Like in your house, you all are familiar with the inverters. When the current supply, when the power cuts, what happens? You all have inverter. So we use inverter. Inverters are come from the batteries, which is also a power supply, and also we can use a solar panel, which is a source of solar energy, which gives heat, which gives power supply with the help of the sun. It emits light. So with that light, we have a solar panel, and with that solar panel, our current passes. We can also use a solar cooker, a solar rice cooker, a solar heater, which gives hot water. We can use it. That is how the solar energy is used for all the human beings. Next, here in the picture in your book, you have seen the picture here of solar system. Look at here, this picture of solar system. As we have learnt in our first lesson, how many planets are there in our solar system? We have 8 planets called as Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. These are all 8 planets we have already learnt in our first lesson. You are very familiar with it. Then which is the biggest planet of all? Which is the biggest planet? Very good. You're all right. So Jupiter is the biggest planet. And our planet is the 3rd place, which is the only planet where all the human beings and non-living things, living things and non-living things can survive. Because we have learned it is covered with water and land, and it is surrounded by a layer of air called as atmosphere. So to the human beings, to all the living things, these are very essential to live life happily, to survive their life. Air, water and food is very much needed for us. So land is the place where crop grows, where we get cultivation and we eat food. So that is how land is helpful to us. So this is the only planet. 3rd planet, Earth is the only planet where human beings, all the non-living things and living things can survive. Next, you can see a planet here in a picture where it has a ring. What is a ring? You wear something in your finger. is a ring, which is like a round in shape, is called as ring. So which planet has ring? Saturn. Very good. Saturn is the planet which has ring. So like that, some of the questions are given here. Which is the closest planet to the sun? Very nearer to the sun. Sun emits heat. So what happens? Which is nearer to it? Mercury, which is the first planet. It gets heated. It gets much heat emitted by the sun. The Mercury is the planet which is nearer to the sun. Which is the farthest to the sun? Which is the planet that is farthest? Farthest means which is very far. Which is the planet? The last planet. What is the name of our last planet? Very good. Neptune is the last planet. Then we move to the moon, next neighbor of the earth, called as moon. You have learnt about the satellite. How are satellites used? Tell me. What is the meaning of a satellite? Satellite is the source, is something which is sent on a space to give information or collect information or the process of the communication. But here we have a satellite, a natural satellite. What is it? The moon is called as natural satellite. What is the moon? The moon is called as natural satellite, which always revolves round the sun. Natural satellite, which always revolves round the sun. Here, the moon appears to be big. When at night, the moon appears to be big. Why is it big? Because it is closest to the sun. It is not bigger than sun, but as it is closest to the sun, as it revolves closest to the sun, to our planet Earth. Our planet Earth is there, so it revolves around the planet Earth. So as it is closest to our planet Earth, it looks bigger in size. It is also called as natural satellite. The moon moves round the earth. It is called the Earth's natural satellite. Satellite are bodies that move round planets. As we have learned, satellites, what do they do? They move around the planets. Then, who is the first man to step on the moon? You all are familiar with this. Who is he? He is Neil Armstrong, the American scientist. Neil Armstrong is the man who stepped first on the moon. When? On September 2009. September 2009, he discovered that we have the source of water on the moon, but there is no air present on the moon. So, as the water is important for all the living things, air is also much important. Why? Because we breathe in fresh air, that is called as oxygen, so that we can survive, live life happily without any fear. So, if there is no air, no human beings can survive, no living things can survive without the air. So, that is why life is not possible on the moon. But water is discovered on the moon. Then, Neil Armstrong, he flew on July 20, 1969. So, this person, Neil Armstrong, was the first man who stepped on the moon on July 20th in the year 1969. In the year 1969, this man stepped his first foot on the moon. Then he went on the mission Apollo 2. How did he go? He go through the space by the mission named Apollo 2. The next are the stars. What are the stars which we love the most? When we sleep on the terrace at night, what do we see? We see the stars twinkling in the sky, which are beautiful, which emit lights. So how does a light come from a star. Here they have the light of their own. They are called as huge balls of fire. What are they called? Huge balls of fire. As we have learnt that sun is the only source of light. So, what I said, sun is also a star. Sun is called as a star. So, here the stars are huge balls of fire which have their own light. Many stars are there in our solar system which revolves around the planet Earth or the sun. Some stars are there which are bigger than even sun. They appear small because they are quite far from us, from the planet Earth. These stars are very far away. That is why they appear to be small. Whereas the moon is nearer to the planet Earth and the sun, so that is why it appears very big. Whereas the stars are very far away from us. That is why it appears to be very small. Next, a group of stars form pattern. When you sleep in the sky, you see a pattern, you see group of stars. What do you do with them? You enjoy making pictures with them. Am I right? You make a picture connecting all the stars. Like if something is there, what do? You connect the pictures of the stars and make a picture of an animal or a thing like that. So here that group of patterns, such patterns are called as the constellation, the pattern of a star. What is constellation? Patterns. Constellation are patterns of stars. Pattern of stars are called as constellation, by which we can make a figure. Next we see some, and we also have the names given to the stars which have pattern. Like here in the picture you can see the stars are connected and made a picture which is the Great Bear. Great Bear is also one of the constellation. Next is Scorpius. It is shaped in a scorpion. It is connected and shaped like scorpion. Next is Leo. What is Leo? The lion, which is king of the forest. So here, like this, when you find a figure of animals, people or thing, such patterns are called as constellation. These are the names of some of the constellation. We have the brightest star that we see in the sky. What? Brightest star, which shines very brightly. That is called as pole star. What it is called? Pole star. When the sailors, what are sailors? Sailors who travel by boat or a ship. The person who travel by boat or a ship is called as a sailor. What do? They use a compass. But earlier, when there was no compass used, what they used to do? They used to see the pole star like this, shaped like this, which is the brightest star. Then they used to follow the pole star and see the directions and travel in the sea, in the open ocean, where you don't know which direction we are going to. So these sailors used to use this brightest star, pole star, and follow the direction. Next, here we have a quick recap of all the thing that you have learned. The earth neighbors. What are the earth neighbor? The moon, the sun, the stars are our earth's neighbor. So the sun is the source of light, which is much bigger in size, which is the head of the family, which is in the center, which gives us heat and light. The energy produced by it is also called as solar energy. It is useful to us in many ways, to the human beings, like we can use a solar energy by solar panel, we can generate electricity, and also we can cook food in the solar cooker, we can heat water in the solar power supply. Like that we can use it. And also the sun is also important to plants to give us food to grow and everything. So to the living things, sun is very much important. Then it is the only source of light, and it is also a only source which has its own light. Next, it is also called as a star. Then next, moon, which is a natural satellite. What is the word satellite means? An object which is spent on a space to collect some information or to communicate is called as a satellite. So this is called as natural satellite. Moon appears to be bigger because it is closer to the sun and the planet Earth. That is why it appears to be bigger. And it is also a planet, it is also a thing, heavenly body. The moon has no light of its own. Then where does the light comes from? When the sunlight is falling on it, then moon also generates light, gives the source of light with the help of a sun. Sun we cannot see at night, but it is present there, but it is not visible. It is there in the space, but it is not visible as it is covered by the moon. So the light of the sun is falling on it and it is giving light to the moon. As it is closest to the sun, the moon appears to be bigger. And the first man to land on the moon was Neil Armstrong on July 20th, 1969. And in September 2009, in the year 2009, it was discovered that moon has water but no air. So life is not possible on the planet, on the heavenly body named moon. Next are stars. Stars twinkle in the sky. Thousands of stars we see in the sky. The brightest star is known as pole star, and we see the patterns of the star making a figure of animals, things, or human beings, people. Those are called as constellation. We have name to the constellation. Some of the examples are given in your textbook, like Great Bear, which is shaped like a bear, the Great Bear. The next is Scorpius, which is shaped like a scorpion. And next is the Leo, which is shaped like the lion. This is what we have all learned today in our class. The neighbor, the earth neighbors. So here in your textbook you have the tick the correct word. I will read out for you. You do the answer. Which is the center of the solar system? I have told you, head of the family, which is in center. What is it? Absolutely right, the sun. Which is the closest neighbor to the earth? Which is the closest neighbor? Which is the heavenly body which is closest to the earth? As it looks bigger, what is it? Yes, very good. The moon. Who was the first man to land on the moon, to step his first step on the moon? Who was it? The Neil Armstrong. Very good. Which is the brightest star that we see in the sky? Which is the brightest star which is used by the sailors? You can get the star like this, called as pole star. Very good. Next, which of these is a constellation? The constellation, what is a constellation? The pattern, the figure of animal, the figure of the pattern or the pattern made by the stars, like the figures like animals, things, or people. Then what is the constellation here? Identify. Is solar system a constellation? Is pole star a constellation? A constellation? No. Orion. Orion is also a shape of an animal. That is also a shape of a constellation. Orion is a constellation. Next is one word answers. It is at the center of the solar system. Very good. The sun. It is the only body in the solar system that has its own light. It is only source of light. It has its own light. Which is that? Very good. Absolutely right. The sun. It is the Earth's natural satellite. What is the natural satellite? The moon. Very good. Next, it is the brightest star in the sky. The pole star. They twinkle in the night, in the sky, night sky. They twinkle. Who are they? We love them. Yes, the stars. Very good. These are all we have learned today. Next, what you have to do here is, we have learned in this chapter, in this lesson, about the Earth's neighbor. Who are they? The sun, the moon, the stars, how they are helpful to us, what are they giving, how are they, and how we should. So even in our surroundings, we have neighborhood, we have neighbors. So what are the measures, how we should take care of each other, how we should behave with the neighbors? I will tell you here are something. Now, what do you do when you are in the neighborhood? Always remember that do not play the music loudly. When there are functions or any parties celebrated in your street, so do not use the loud music so that the neighbors get affected or may feel very bad. That is why we should not use the music very loudly. Always play the music in a low voice. Next, we should not create disturbance to our neighbors. Next, what we should do? We should throw the garbage on the street, on our neighborhood homes or surroundings. No, we should always keep our surrounding neat and clean. We should always help our neighbors. We should take care of them in a good manner. We should be polite towards them. And also, never have a quarrel in the neighborhood. Never fight with them. It is very bad. And always help each other. Whatever is required, you always be there and help your neighbors. Then, if they have the garden in their veranda or in our veranda, ask our neighbor or you also, do not pluck the flowers which are there in the neighborhood. And also plant the trees in our neighborhood to make the earth clean and green. So these are all the measures that you have to learn today with our neighbors, how you should behave. So tell to your friends and the family to behave so, and you will also follow it. I hope you will also follow for sure. That is what we have all learned today in our lesson, the Earth Neighbors. Hope you have all enjoyed today's class. Let us meet in the next class with a new topic. Thank you so much. Love you all, sir.